welcome everybody. You're on time, and this is the very first Empower Her call. And I know that we are excited. We've changed the time for this week. Usually we do our calls 6 p.m. UK time, but because Skye's in Brisbane, it's UK 10 a.m. Just wanted to welcome everybody because Empower is very close to my heart. It's a movement to make impact in lives of various individuals. Yes, it's Empower Her, identifying, supporting community for women, because we know through research that they do need that extra support mechanism. However, it's open to everybody and anybody. We want to keep these power calls short, pithy, and impactful. So today with me, I have Skye McKenzie. So let's meet Skye. She's an integration coach and a catalyst for happiness who has spent over 2 decades helping women move from survival to embrace empowered living. She is based in Brisbane, Australia, and she joins us to share her wisdom and joy, as well as authenticity to reclaiming her confidence. So she will share her journey, but also some tools and techniques that will enable us to have impact. She's a happy coach, and I think that is in itself amazing. I think it's unique, and I think it needs to be celebrated. But I have a little secret. She also loves to trade, and I only found out through connecting with her. And that is the power of networking and connecting. We find out so much from different people and what they do. So welcome, Skye. And I am going to put you under the spotlight because everybody wants to meet you and know more about you. So Skye McKenzie.
Thank you, Shaz. Well, I'd love to say, yes, trading has become my passion. I'm not quite good at it yet. I said to my coach, as you know, I said, oh my gosh, every time I learn something, I realize there's so much more I need to learn. But it's one of the things actually that we're going to talk about today is that we're never too old to learn new things. And I love that we can train our brain to learn new things. And thank you for introducing me as a happiness coach, because the one thing that I do want to say is I was never always happy. In fact, I grew up very, very sad. I grew up in a country that was at war, and in a very dysfunctional family. And sadness was my situation normal. And so for me, I came to a point in my life where I realized that I had been sad for too long, and I had to decide, what am I going to do about this? And so I went on a very long journey. I went on a journey traveling around the world, and I did not know at the time, but only afterwards I realized that every country I went to, I came across this book actually, by Philip I wasn't going to talk about this, so I can't remember his name. But anyway, it was about neuroplasticity. And I remember reading this book, and I read these words after about 5 years of traveling around the world. And he said, a wonderful way to change your brain is to travel, because you have conversations with people who don't look like you, who don't think like you, who don't act like you, who don't believe the things that you believe. And simply by having these conversations, you are changing your neural pathways. So that's what I was doing. I had no idea. I said yes, that I would go on a journey, and I was teaching English in various countries around the world. And everywhere I went, I met new people, and I was changing my brain, and realized I was dropping off all of these things that held me back and becoming more happier and happier, until I came upon this course with Marcy Shimoff, and I became a happiness coach. So what I'm going to share with you today, I'm going to just actually share my screen so I can share my PowerPoint with you. Let's do that and that. And so I'm going to, first of all, start off as to why I'm going to teach you some happiness habits today. And I'm going to start off with, why do we teach happiness habits? I'll put it here. So what is the importance of happiness habits? Well, it was Aristotle who said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. And everything we do really needs to become a habit in our lives, not just a once off. And so we call these habit energies. And they are, first of all, our habits are deeply ingrained in our early life. And they have the power to take us places. It was Thich Nhat Hanh who told a story of a man riding a horse at breakneck speed. And I could only find a picture of a woman here. So we have a picture of a woman. But Thich Nhat Hanh told the story of a man riding this horse at breakneck speed. And he shouted, "Where are you going?" And the man yelled back, "I don't know. Ask the horse." And we are the same. We rush through life without direction, without conscious direction, and we defer control to the horse, our habits and our impulses. And imagine if we could train our horse, our habits and our impulses, to always take us to great places. To places that we know consciously we've chosen to go to because we've trained ourselves to have these great habits. So what we're really talking about today isn't just happiness. It's about our capacity to live a life of health and well-being through the lens of happiness. And as I mentioned earlier, happiness is a skill that we can learn, like painting or playing a sport or trading. We can train our brain to learn new habits. So the World Health Organization has predicted that by 2030, which is only 4 years away, depression will be the greatest overall harm in our world, cause the greatest overall harm. And so what the whole world is doing is raising up mental health workers and health support. And that's essential, but it's just as vital to understand the deeper rooted cause for this global crisis. And it is that people don't know how to take control of their own happiness. We are deferring our happiness to our circumstances, to other people, instead of being able to take control of our own happiness. But so what if we could change the statistic just one habit at a time? And scientists have discovered that we all have a happiness set point. And this is like a thermostat that's within every adult, and it's fixed unless we determine to change it. So only 10% of our happiness set point is determined by our circumstances. And this is what we're all trying to change. It's the myth of I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I get that new job. I'll be happy when I get that certain amount of money. I'll be happy when I get that new house. I'll be happy when I get married, or I'll be happy when I get divorced. Happiness is based on our circumstances is fleeting. And 50% of our happiness set point is determined by our DNA. It's genetics. But 40% of our happiness set point is based on our habits. And when we change our habits, we change our circumstances. And we all know through the study of epigenetics that when we change our environment and our circumstances, we have the ability to influence our genes and our DNA. So tonight I'm going to quickly run through. Shaz, I give you full permission to say to me, okay, Skye, done. We have you.
No, no, what I'm thinking, I'm actually thinking that the uniqueness of being a happiness coach, number one, the facts that you've just shared about the depression and 2030, because I can foresee it coming, lots of conversations I've had with individuals who've come, and that mental health and well-being is in the forefront, whereas there's also AI, and that's quite an interesting topic in itself. And that one habit at a time, because I think we try to swallow too much too soon. So I'm sure everybody's getting a lot of benefit from understanding this opportunity that you're giving them to listen and absorb and take away as tools and techniques that they can apply in their own situation and their families. So I'm sure everybody's gonna get a lot from it.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And I am going to rush through these pretty quickly. Some of them we're going to delve in a little bit deeper, but there will be a recording that you can go back and you can listen to as well. And you can decide at the end, I'll ask you the question, which happiness habit would you like to pay more attention on and focus on over the next maybe week or two, one happiness habit at a time, so that it really does become ingrained and become a habit in your life. So the first principle is the principle we spoke about taking ownership of our own happiness. It's the foundation. And there are three beautiful habits. Focus on the solution, and we're going to delve into that a little bit more tonight. Look for the lesson and the gift. There is always a lesson and there is always a gift in every situation. And I'm just admitting somebody there, Shaz. Okay. Um, somebody once said to me, "Gee, this gift is a gift in strange wrapping paper." And sometimes our situations can look like that. It's really strange wrapping paper for this gift. But there is always a lesson and there is always a gift in every situation that we are in and we find ourselves in. It just depends how we look at it. The other one is to make peace with yourself. And I really love this habit because this habit teaches us to learn and to look at our behaviors with compassion rather than with judgment. And to look at what's going on with reflection and to speak kindly to ourselves and to think, with curiosity, why did I do that? Rather than, I was saying, just talking to somebody yesterday and saying, I caught myself the other day saying, "Oh, Skye, you stupid. Why did you do that?" I wouldn't even speak to my best friend like that. I wouldn't even speak to my worst enemy like that. So how we speak to ourselves, we punish ourselves when things go wrong. We feel like victims. We feel like we need to defend ourselves. But actually, this habits, in fact, for my children, happiness habits for children, I say, be your own best friend. So can we make peace with ourselves and can we be our own best friend? Because we always make mistakes and we always do things that we regret. But we don't always get it right. But it's how do we behave in those moments? Do we feel like a victim? Do we pull ourselves down? Or do we realize that how would I speak to my own best friend? How can I make peace with myself? So we're going to look at this habit of finding a solution and focusing on the solution. So many times in life, instead of focusing on a solution, we blame and we complain. And if you can just see from this image, I love this image, that if we're blaming and complaining, we're living in a very low frequency. And the only way we can move out of this is when at least one person or in the situation stops blaming and complaining. So I'm going to teach you tonight the solution focus technique by Mark McCurgow. And it's the idea of what you put your attention on is what you get more out of in your life. So I'm going to ask you, if you have a pen and paper, it would be easier to think of something that you have been complaining about. Thank you, Shaz. To think of something that you have. I see Sam's grabbed her paper. Thank you, Sam. Nice to see you. Think of something that you've been complaining about. It could be a relationship, could be your work, could be your health, it could be the government. There's a lot to complain about in our world today. So think of something that you have been complaining about. And rate how you feel about the situation on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being least satisfied and 10 being the most satisfied. So it would be ideal in this very first example that you don't choose something that you're where you feel like you're a 1, but as we're learning and we're practicing. So pick something that you've been complaining about, rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. Preferably not a 1. And then I'd like to ask you to write down as many things that you can think of that have caused you to rate your satisfaction to be more than a 1. So whether you wrote down a 4 or a 3 or a 6 or a 7, write down some of the things that caused this situation to not be a 1. Letting somebody in. For example, I'll give you a quick example. I have some building going on they're building a courtyard for me in my little cottage. And it's been going on for way too long. And I found myself complaining about it the other day. And I realized I'm complaining about this a lot. So I did this and I wrote down the wonderful things about living here. I have the most gorgeous view of what we call the Gap, a mountain, that actually when I'm in my home, I don't even look like I live in the city. It's very convenient. It's close to the shops. It's quiet. So I was writing down all the things that actually cause me to enjoy living here rather than to complain about the building. I'll leave you to do this more after the training. So I want to focus back to what we put our attention on is what we get more of. So step number 4 is what of these things, and you could choose one, could you focus more on? Could you put your attention on? There's a wonderful phrase, Salvator ambulando. It's one of my favorite phrases. I know Dr. Shaz has heard me say this before. It's a Latin phrase that says, it is solved by walking. And it means as we begin to take steps, actually the solutions appear. And so just as we begin to stop complaining and stop blaming and focus on some of the things that are good in our life, then more of those good things will actually come into our life. What we put our attention on is what we get more of. So I invite you to give this a try. And this is something you can do just very quickly, even when you're standing in a supermarket line. If you're frustrated about something, you find yourself complaining, just very quickly, how am I rating this situation right now? It's a 4 or a 5. Okay, what's good about this? What's making it a 4 or a 5 rather than a 1? What can I focus on right now? Once we get this as a habit, we can very quickly train our brain to focus on the solution rather than on the things, the situations that are causing us to complain and to blame others about. So pillar number 2 is the pillar of the body, make ourselves happy. And I did some training last night for a group in Bataan, and I was saying to them, happy body, happy mind. Healthy body, happy mind. Because really, when we are nourishing our body and energizing our body and looking after our body, we are filling our bodies with happy hormones, endorphins, dopamine, all of these wonderful hormones that actually make ourselves feel better, make our bodies feel better, and therefore make our minds feel better. So I'm not going to talk a lot tonight about this. All that I want to really say is Gabor Mate wrote this wonderful book called The Body Says No. And so to learn to treat our bodies with great care, we are then giving ourselves the opportunity for lifelong health. And so nourish your body. What is it that you're eating? No diets. We don't want any diets here. They must become habits. So what are healthy ways that you can nourish your body? What are ways that you can energize your body? And this isn't only about moving when you feel sluggish. It's also how can you energize your body when actually you're hyped up and you're feeling hyper. Instead of going to lie on the sofa, perhaps you could just do a few yoga moves, or perhaps you could just do some breathing techniques to calm yourself down. So this is all about teaching yourself how to nourish your body, but some decisions that you make for yourself and how to energize your body. For my children's habits, I call this move your magic. And to tune into your body's wisdom. It was Zorba the Greek who said, be quiet, mind, and let me hear my body. So here's a very quick, simple process, and we're going to do this right now, that will help us to tune into our body's wisdom. And it doesn't matter where you've come from today and what time zone you're in. You may have come from a lot of things going on in your life. So I'm going to invite you to just for a few minutes to maybe close your eyes if you want to. And if you don't want to close your eyes, you can just focus on a certain point in front of you in your room and breathe in deeply and take a deep breath out. One more time to breathe in deeply and take a deep breath out. And to roll your shoulders up and let them drop. To roll them up again and let them drop. Perhaps you want to give your hands a little shake as well, like you're flicking off some sparkles. You might even want to stretch your arms right up, nice and high. You might want to stretch them out wide. And then take another deep breath in and out. And in this place of stillness, suddenly, whatever it was we brought into this space doesn't seem to matter anymore. So, in this place of stillness, we can ask ourselves, what does my body need right now? And we can pay attention. Right now, I know my body's saying I need a drink of water. What is your body saying that it needs right now? And when we get in tune with this habit, we can actually very quickly tune into what our body needs. It might need a walk, it might need a rest, it might need food, it might need nourishment. I know I used to go through the whole day without eating because I was so busy at work. And I never stopped to tune in and say, what does my body need right now? Does it need some food? This is a great habit that really makes a big difference in our happiness levels when we can stop and tune in and ask ourselves, be quiet, mind, let me hear my body. We have agency over how we feel. When we don't tune in and ask ourselves how we feel, we stop giving up, we give our power away to others. The next principle is all about the pillar of the mind. Don't believe everything you think. I really love this principle, and I love these happiness habits. The happiness habit to question your thoughts. We have 60,000 thoughts per day. 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts we had yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that. Our minds are like record players that go over the same thing. We have the same thoughts, and 80% of those thoughts are negative. But we can train ourselves to go beyond the mind and let go by questioning our thoughts and asking ourselves, is that thought true? Is it true that I never get this right? Is it true that I will never get this right? Or perhaps these are thoughts that have come back to us from our childhood. And we are still allowing ourselves to believe these thoughts that keep recurring in our minds. We keep believing them. So we can tell ourselves that this is just our brain sending us an old familiar message that goes back to our childhood, and we can choose to let that thought float by and incline our minds towards joy. Inclining your mind towards joy is kind of like this: find the solution, or find something that actually there in the moment you can be grateful for, that can actually bring you joy. In my children's habits, I call this be the boss of your brain. We like to control everything around us, but we don't stop to actually really take control of the thoughts that are going through our brains all day, going through our minds. And thoughts become matter. What we think, we act out, becomes our reality. The next principle is the pillar of the heart, and it's all about love and letting love lead. So these are all about focusing on gratitude, practicing forgiveness, and spreading loving kindness. And again, it was Gabor Mate who said that, we often say, I knew it in my heart. And he calls this heart knowledge. We can have head knowledge and we can have heart knowledge. When we feel immense pain, we talk about a broken heart. We feel love, we talk about, we draw hearts. And we can open our hearts and we can close our hearts. So there's this, we can also have a habit of checking in with, what does my heart want right now? What's my heart feeling right now? We can numb out feelings, and we can learn to override our feelings pretty quickly. So creating a habit to stop and focus on gratitude and practice forgiveness and spread loving kindness. My friend had COVID last week, and she called me to say she was ill. And one of her community group had left a care package outside of her front door. And I thought, oh my gosh, I I really want to do that. That's such a lovely way to spread loving kindness. I want to be this person who leaves care packages at people's front door. So just these little things, these little ways that we can spread loving kindness, they come back to us. And so this is the pillar of the heart, to learn to operate from the heart, to operate from an open heart. Our garden, principle number 5, is all about nourishing relationships, tending to your relationships, the relationships that go well, maybe the relationships that need a little bit more tendering as well. But always surround yourself with support. I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, who's your support? Who's in your circle that is your support? We need to find people who are, it's a vital happiness habit to surround ourselves with support. And to see the world as our family, especially in our world today. We are all, I call this my earth suit. And so we are all spirit beings who are here on planet Earth having this experience. And we can so easily look at our differences. You're male, I'm female. You're black, I'm white. You're gay, I'm straight. I'm from this country, you're from that country. I speak this language, you speak that country language. We can look at our differences and we can focus on the differences, or we can look at the fact that we are all human beings living on planet Earth and see the world as our family. I love this happiness habit of realizing, okay, that person might be different to me, but actually that person is part of my global family. Our roof, it's a principle that live life inspired by purpose. And this is to find your passion in life. Howard Thurman said this. He said, don't ask what the world needs. Find out what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is people who've come alive. So this is when the baker bakes, the singer sings, the artist paints, the teacher teaches, the trader trades, all of these things that we love to do. Find something that's your passion and start by including it in your daily life. May not be able to take over your life completely. You may not be able to say, okay, I'm going to go do this for the rest of my life right now, but find something that really makes your heart sing. And another wonderful habit for this principle is follow the inspiration of the moment. How many times do we get this gut feel, this little nudge that says, I want to do this, I want to go here? Follow the inspiration of the moment, that intuition. Find your passion. There you go. Pillar of the soul, plug into spirit. So invite connection with your higher power, whoever that is for you, whether it's a daily meditation or just a daily yoga practice, whatever it is, that opportunity where you can just be quiet and you can plug yourself into that connection with your higher power, to listen to your inner voice, your inside voice, and to trust that whatever is happening in your life, whatever is happening right now, is going to turn out fine. It's going to be okay. This is one of the hardest but the most rewarding happiness habits. To trust that everything is going to work out okay, no matter what's going on in our life. It allows us, this ability to trust allows us to live more in our parasympathetic nervous system, where we can rest and digest and we're not constantly in fight or flight. This ability to trust life, to trust that the earth has our back, to trust that the universe has our back. So we've run through a lot of habits very quickly today. Which happiness habit are you going to spend time introducing into your life this week? These habits teach us to regulate our emotions, to care for our minds and our bodies, to build kind relationships, even with yourself, to discover your sense of purpose and trust life and trust ourselves and trust others. All these things are skills that we can learn and help us not just cope, but thrive in life. We can lead with compassion, with creativity, and with courage. And we can adopt these tools for happiness from the inside out, where we're not just supporting our own individual well-being, but we are quietly shaping a kinder, more conscious future for our world.
Thank you for sharing, Skye. And I know there's a lot more that you would want to share. And what I'm going to suggest is that we send your training out because we've got the contact details for participants. And I know that you shared your training with myself because if anyone can benefit, we're truly empowering people to make that change. And some of the ones that you shared that really resonated with myself is I love the fact that what we put our attention on is what we get more of, and that's absolutely right. But I think my biggest takeaway is that taking ownership. I think we do not take ownership, and then letting the love and intuition lead, and your unconscious mind rather than overthinking. Because when you asked us to write something down, I actually put that down. It was overthinking, and I have to keep on reminding myself, re-coaching myself that do not overthink. And I think as an academic, sometimes we tend to be taught the habit of critical thinking, and it's not needed in everything. Our body, listen to it. Our soul, listen to it. Our heart, we need to listen to it. And we need to follow our instincts. And that's really, really important. And finally, it was the stop the complaining and stop the blaming, and how important it is to find a solution. It is solved by walking. And I know we've had so many conversations on that, and we still, no matter how au fair we may be with all these principles, we still need to have the right environment and the right circle to keep reminding us. And that
Mm.
reframing of your thoughts from the negative
Yes.
to the positive, rather than seeing it as, oh, I'm not getting a reply. Nosh is not replying to my messages. I need to think, well, Nosh is probably busy right now. That's why he's not replying to my messages. And it's coaching yourself to, look at the positive. People have a life, but we're
Yes.
very quick at becoming judgmental. And I think that is where we need to make the shift from respecting everybody's model of the world. I think is really, really important. Let me also tell you, everybody, that, at the beginning, Skye mentioned her story. It wasn't always, she never always had the thriving life. And I
Mm,
would like you to shed a little bit on that because I think it benefits many people who might be in that situation right now who give up hope. I've had somebody reach out to me
mm,
about 2 weeks ago in a situation where they're feeling lonely, there's
mm,
no purpose, and I'm
mm.
having to work with them to I would say, reframe their thoughts. And they don't want to go on medication because what happens is when you do go to various organizations to have conversations, they send you straight to the medical field. And when you
Yes.
do go and see a practitioner, straight away you need these medicines. So I just want you to share with everybody the alternative way of managing themselves in that. And I think that's why it's important to have a strong circle around us. And how, when
Mm,
you were in that situation, what did you do to pull you
mm,
away out? What pulled you up? What took you out?
mm. Thank you, Shaz. I'm laughing at the comments, not saying you didn't message him. You forgot to
I
press the
used that as an
send
example
button.
because he appeared on my screen and I needed a name and he was there. So,
I've been laughing about that. Yeah. But yes, see, the interesting thing is, and I don't want to say, Shaz, that antidepressants aren't helpful for some people. Okay. But the reality is, actually, they have not proven that antidepressants can actually benefit. There is no evidence to prove that antidepressants will solve depression because they can't realistically measure. We can go for a run and our endorphins, come into our body, and half an hour later they've gone again. So for some people, I'm not going to say antidepressants will not work for people. They do work for some people, but I was in that exact situation where actually I went to I'm a very healthy person and I don't actually go to the doctor that often, but I went to the doctor for something and I burst into tears in his office, and he put a piece of paper in front of me and asked me to do this little checklist. And I, checked these few things, and he started to write on a script, and he handed me the script, and I said, "What is this?" He said, "You need to take these. They're antidepressants." And I don't know why, but what came out of my mouth I pushed it back at him and I said, um, I don't need to take antidepressants. I need to change my circumstances. And this was before I had even done this happiness training and understood that only 10% of our happiness set point was determined by our circumstances. Just instinctively, I was in a very abusive marriage. I was all alone in this tiny little town in New South Wales in Australia. And I was exactly that, lonely. And I was depressed, yes, but I knew it was what I coined then circumstantial depression. And I refused to take those antidepressants. Now, I'm not saying to anybody, if you're on antidepressants, stop taking them, or don't take antidepressants. But I would like people to just question, uh, you know, I know many people who are taking them and are still depressed. They're not working. So, what is going on in your circumstances that if you go away from your circumstances and you feel happy, and then you go back to that situation and you feel depressed, maybe just for a moment, if you could think that possibly it's your circumstances that you're in that you actually might need to get out of. And so that's what I did. I was in this really abusive marriage. And I realized one day when something was going on that actually this person could really, this person could break my back. That's the thought I had. And I don't talk about that a lot, but I'm going to talk about it here. In fact, I hardly ever talk about it. But it was 13 years ago, and I knew that I had to get out because if I didn't get out, I probably would land up dead, or have killed myself, or damaged, because it was a really bad negative situation. And so miraculously somehow I decided I was going to go and teach English in Mexico. And I don't know why I had to make this big radical decision. I don't believe everybody has to make these big radical decisions, but I got accepted to teach English at a university in Mexico, and I literally packed a suitcase. I didn't tell this person I was going. I would not have been able to go. And so I got on a plane and I went and I taught English in Mexico for a year. The freedom I felt I had never experienced before. And I realized actually that I couldn't ever go back to that situation. And so I continued to travel for 7 years. I taught in Saudi Arabia, I taught in China, I taught in Sicily. So each year I kind of got a new gig, I would call it. But each year I was unlayering this onion, this layer of the onion as to from my childhood really as to why I was just, you see, sadness is like it's a feeling, but our feelings produce chemicals. So it's like this loading dock inside our body that said, okay, Skye, you're not feeling sad anymore. You've felt sad for so many years. You need some more, of these sad chemicals. Go and create something else in your life that's going to make you feel sad so you can get some more sad chemicals and you can feel better for a little bit. And so for any addiction is like that. Your body has these loading docks that's waiting for these chemicals. And so you just stop me whenever I'm speaking too much because I can speak for a long time on this subject. But so really, I think in the end, I'll just wrap it up and just say, in the end, one country at a time, 1 year at a time, one conversation at a time, one course at a time. I did many, many courses and eventually led me to the happiness training that I actually practiced these happiness habits myself. And now I can't say that I never feel sad, but I can catch it very quickly and I can identify, why am I feeling sad? Is there really a legitimate reason for me to feel sad right now? Or is it my body remembering that it actually needs some chemicals that I'm not going to give it? And I start to give it some happy chemicals. And initially it's hard work, but it does get easier and easier and easier.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think crucial there, changing circumstances, radical decisions. Many people I know that have made or brought about change in their life have made radical decisions. And we did the session for International Women's Day, and we heard a lot of radical decision making taking place there as well. So circumstances and radical decision making, I think, come together. Yeah, this is like unpeeling an onion. It is layer by layer because everything can't go at the same time. It's taken years to build up, so it's going to take time to shift. And
Mm-hmm.
you're right, feelings do produce chemicals, and it's only about how the environment that you have around you, audit your circles. Do these individuals make you laugh? We've just giggled on the
Yes.
call where I've
Yes.
just made a comment, and it's about keeping yourself happy, keeping yourself
Yes.
inspired by those around you. Is your tribe actually um I would say aligned or congruent with your vibe? And are
Mm.
there, wherever you stop, you pick up again? I met a friend nearly after 4 or 5 years on Monday, and that's what we said. We just pick up from where we
Yeah.
stop. There is no break in between. We may not see each other, we may not talk to each other, but you just pick up from that very moment in time. And it is about that reframing positivity of support. For me, it's like, we're here to support, uplift. And that is it, to make, if we can make a difference to the life of one person, the thought
Mm.
process of one person that can go
Mm.
away and make that change, to value themselves, respect themselves, to bring upon change, then you know what? We've achieved what we've come into, the life purpose, if you like, and it's
Yes.
really powerful. So thank you, Skye, for sharing so much. We will share Skye's trainings with you via email. I'm sure she'll have her contact details on them if you want to get in touch with her directly. That's what Empower Her is about. It's about not gatekeeping, it's about sharing. It's about sharing and enabling anybody to make change in their lives how they wish to. And that's it. So what we have is a session. We've got a series of 12 to begin with. So next week, Skye, we've got, I don't know if you know this individual, but she is from another phenomenal lady from our community. She's from the Philippines, living in the US, in California, Dr. KP, medical practitioner, but also does a lot of work by helping other individuals to live a life of their purpose. So living
Mm.
a life of purpose can come in many different forms, and it can be in different ways. And success looks different for anybody. It can be a job, it can be a business, it can be a lifestyle, it can be anything. So thank you to everybody who joined. Carmen, we will record, the recording will be translated into Spanish as we normally
Oh,
do, and it will be uploaded as well. So if you haven't caught everything because of the pace, then do not worry. Just wanted to remind everybody. And next week, so we will be at 6 p.m. UK time. This time it was special because it was the other side of the world. And if I did 6 p.m. UK, I think it would have been 3 o'clock in the morning in Brisbane. That wouldn't have worked. So please keep connecting. If you want to come on the spotlight, reach out to me, because sometimes I'm not sure who is open to being on camera because we all are different. Some people like to be private, but please message me because this is an opportunity for anybody and everybody. Thank you, Skye, and thank you to everybody who joined. And I'll be reaching out to some of you who I have seen after a long time, and I guess they know who they are, and we can reconnect as well. So again, lots of love, lots of appreciation, and thank you to everybody for joining us today.
yes. Thank you. Thank you.